let's get into it, shall we? Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is James Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Friday live stream in regards to Week 18 rankings at the quarterback position. For those of you who are joining or potentially watching after the live stream, welcome. Hope you guys are all doing well as we get to our final week of technically the 2023/2024 fantasy football season. Over the course of today's live stream, I'm answering any and all questions that you guys have in the live chat, so be sure to go ahead and type away. Be sure to also include your scoring format because that helps a lot. Besides answering questions today, on Saturday afternoon, starting at noon Pacific Standard Time up until the first game's kickoff, starting at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'll be answering questions. We'll have rankings on screen, all that kind of jazz for tomorrow. We'll do the same thing on Sunday morning, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, live streaming, answering questions at all capacities in order to help you guys capture a fantasy football championship in the last week of the season. Welcome. As we progress, I will go ahead and I will put up the top 16 rankings at the quarterback position, give you guys a little bit of an idea as to where I'm positioning in terms of if I had a team playing, which I don't have any teams playing this week, which is kind of what makes it a little bit weird. Typically, as the week progresses, like I can kind of stay with it with the idea like, okay, if this is my team, I'm playing this. In no circumstance do I have a team playing this week. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, all right, well, this is just what do I think is going to really happen and trying to put it all together. There's a little bit more information as the week has progressed in regards to injuries, in regards to some players, as to who's going to play, who's going to miss, which is great. At least we have more context regarding that, especially due to the injury reports. Outside of that, we should be good to go. So what I wanted to go ahead and do before I go ahead and start answering direct questions, that I want to go ahead and put the rankings on screen so that we're all on the same page. Before we do so, as we progress throughout today's live stream, at the end of it, I will put together a couple pick'em subs via Underdog Fantasy. For those of you guys who are looking to potentially keep on going with fantasy for related contests after the season is gone, after week 18 is finished, you can check out Underdog Fantasy, put together some pick'em subs, whether it's for week 18 or for the NFL playoffs, or even draft some best ball teams for the NFL playoffs, all that kind of jazz. Use code Andrew. Check out the map to the right side of the screen to determine your eligibility. And of course, if you sign up before Sunday's game, you can take advantage of the new customer special of 0.5 total yards by Josh Allen. Now, let's talk about quarterback. Speaking of Josh Allen, let's talk about matchups in specific in regards to who has the most advantageous matchups. It's pretty much the same as it has progressed over the last couple weeks. Sure, there are a couple changes here and there because of big performances, but ultimately, the Commanders, the Eagles, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Rams, especially the Rams in the fourth quarter, they just cannot stop the pass. So, of course, we want to take advantage of these overall matchups. While on the other end of the overall spectrum, we have some of the more disadvantageous matchups. But in a lot of these overall scenarios, perhaps the starters aren't going to be going for the Cleveland Browns, for the Kansas City Chiefs, for the San Francisco 49ers. So it could end up changing a little bit of these overall, potential matchups in these circumstances. Outside of that, these are my top 16 rankings at the quarterback position going into this week. Of course, we have Josh Allen, Prescott, Hurts, the top three, the guys that you can blindly play every single week. As of late, Jordan Love and, of course, Justin Fields playing extremely well. Both of them take each other on. Since Justin Fields has returned from his injury, the Detroit Lions are a 4-2 football team. They've won 4 of the last 6 games, which is obviously trending in the right direction. Coming off a pretty big win last week, despite the weather conditions. It'll be in Lambeau, which gives Green Bay a little bit of an advantage, but nonetheless should be an exciting game. Kyler, Stroud, of course, other guys that you want to play. Geno, Tua, Jared Goff, and Tyrod Taylor. I thought that it was right to have Tyrod Taylor in that overall tier, primarily because he has the rushing capabilities. I know yesterday somebody was saying that Tyrod Taylor scoring a rushing touchdown should be booked. I think on Underdog it's like a 2.75x. So maybe we'll go ahead and we'll throw a sprinkle on that if we're feeling it later over the the course of this live stream. But those are some of the safer quarterback plays. And then we have some of the ones that have up and down weeks. Baker Mayfield was questionable earlier in the week. Derek Carr, despite the fact that he's been playing well as of late, I still don't know if I can outright trust him every week, but 4 consecutive games of 2+ touchdowns, that's for sure. Trevor Lawrence potentially fighting back from that shoulder injury. We'll see if he's ready to go for this weekend. And then, of course, Minshew and Browning. I know that Browning will most likely not have T. Higgins out there, but just wanted to go ahead and mention him because the likelihood is that the Cleveland Browns won't be putting out their first defense at all positions. All right, with that all covered, let's go ahead and let's get into answering questions. We had Rob Monahan, who sent in a very generous super chat. Thank you, Rob. Greatly appreciate it. Says, greetings and salutations. Final stretch, my man. Would you make any changes to my starting lineup? Okay, here we go. We have Justin Fields, Rashad White, Bijan Robinson, A.J. Brown. Okay, Collins, McBride, what is that? Zamir White, Bucks defense, Fairbairn. My bench consists of CJ Stroud, Montgomery, Laporta, Olave, Chase, Mullins. Thank you, my friend. No problem, Rob. Okay, so at quarterback, I would leave it at Fields. As for running backs, I think you have the best two in, Rashad White and Bijan Robinson for this week. Technically, A.J. Brown and Collins, would I play them over Olave? Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about the Nico Collins question at this point. I'm thinking like Nico Collins without Noah Brown, probably a better play due to the circumstance in comparison to the alternative of Chris Olave. But Olave should probably... All right, let me see. Who did you have in the flex? You had Zamir White. What's the scoring format here, Rob? Full PPR. Got it. Perfect. Because of the format, I think I might just play Olave in that flex spot. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards. So we go like Fields, White, Bijan, Brown, Collins, Olave in the flex, leave McBride a wide receiver, Bucks and Fairbairn, and you're good to go. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards. Thank you for the question, Rob. Appreciate it. If you have any other questions, let me know. Michael Barton in the chat says, is Pierre Strong an RB1 for this week in a PPR? I mean, we knew that earlier in the week that there wasn't going to be a Jerome Ford and there wasn't going to be, a Kareem Hunt or Joe Flacco or Amari Cooper and probably not going to be any David Njoku. The starting offensive line will probably go because the starting offensive line is all that they have left. Like both their starting offensive tackles are out like this season. Their starting center's been dealing with injuries, so their starting guards obviously are former All-Pros Bitonio and Wyatt Teller. These guys are just, they're studs. But their starting offensive line is most likely going to go. If I was going to lean in the direction of thinking, can Pierre Strong be an RB1? Sure, because of the Cincinnati matchup, but it's really just going to be Cincinnati stacking the box and kind of forcing Jeff Driscoll to throw against them. So I don't know if Pierre Strong is going to be able to have that impactful of a week. What do you think about Jordan Mason to PPR, says Michael Barton? Let's see. What is the current status of the 49ers running back? Let's see, Elijah Mitchell. The reason why I want to know the status of Elijah Mitchell primarily, where did my 49ers link go? Did I accidentally delete it? I think I may have. Let's just find it. So we know that earlier this week, Elijah Mitchell was dealing with a little bit of an illness. Where is he at here? He fully practiced on Friday, earlier today. So if I was to go ahead and make a projection as to who I believe is going to be starting at running back, it's going to be Elijah Mitchell. Sure, there's going to be sprinkles of Jordan Mason, but if I was to go ahead and if I was a gambling man, but I don't even think it's more of a gamble. It's just a matter of what we have seen Kyle Shanahan do over the course of the last couple of years. Whenever Elijah Mitchell is healthy, he is the preferred running back. And considering he fully practiced today, I would lean towards him probably being the clear-cut RB1 of this backfield against the LA Rams this week. Brian French says, smash the like button, guys. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Michael Barton followed up, says, if Khalil Herbert doesn't play, do you start Roshan Johnson as an RB1 in a PPR? Probably not. I would assume that Deontay Foreman would then be activated, and Deontay Foreman for the Chicago Bears would be the RB1 of that team. And would I start him as an RB1? Probably not. I think he would be like a lower end RB2, kind of where I had Khalil Herbert earlier in the week. We had a question from Troy. We had Troy. Troy, long time no see. Says, what chance do you think the Panthers have of beating the Bucks? I would say it's relatively low. Yeah, like if I was to put an actual percentage on it, I'd say that they maybe have, what do the books have it at? Let's see here. What's the, I'm actually curious. I was going to say they have like a 20% chance, but let's see. As it currently stands, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers away. So it's in Carolina. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are minus 4.5 point favorites. So it's a pretty good number, but I would say that the Carolina Panthers probably don't have a chance, and it's kind of just been the same deal all season long. Like the only most recent game that they have won was against Atlanta in Carolina, where the weather was an absolute terrible monsoon that really anybody, to try to, honestly pass the ball couldn't. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Don Bevy. Don, how do you get your name to be like that? How do you have like a different text than everybody? Different font. Is Kamara playing? Should I play him, Jamal Williams, or Ty Chandler? So from what I read earlier today, he's going to be a game time decision. So, oh, did I just mess that up? I just messed that up. Let's go ahead. Let's open a new link. So if I was to potentially predict whether he'd play, I honestly, I'm thinking that he probably won't. Let's see here. What was his designation earlier today? They don't have an actual designation on their official website. Let me go to my other link. Let's see what his designation was there. Let's go to this injury report. Let's go to New Orleans. They still haven't designated an actual... Yeah, they haven't designated anything on both of my overall links. So if I was to potentially guess, it's probably going to be a Jamal Williams week. But if I'm in your situation, Don, make sure you have Kamara and Jamal Williams ready to go. I'm not too interested in starting Ty Chandler in this scenario. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be a Jamal Williams week. Yusuf says favorite underdog bets. Yeah, we'll go over that in a bit. Free username says Darius Slayton, who I'm leaning towards, Brandon Cooks, Puka Nacua, or DeMarcus Robinson on wide receiver. Okay. I'm not playing Puka there because I don't think he'll be playing for very long. As for DeMarcus Robinson, he could be a solid play with Carson Wentz. Again, we haven't seen Carson Wentz suit up and start in the National Football League in a very long time. So there's going to be a little bit of dust/rust potentially, unless he's going to come out and look like Joe Flacco out there slinging the rock. But as it stands, I'd probably go Brandon Cooks number one. I think the consistency of touchdowns that he has scored, or at least the frequency that he has been able to score, as of late, I think he has scored, let me see here. I think it's like 6 touchdowns in the last, 9 games this year. Let me confirm this. Where are we? We have Brandon Cook scoring a touchdown in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So in the last 9 games, he has scored 5 touchdowns. Yeah, that's actually not that much. Oh, actually, no, hold up. Got to gather more information. So it's actually in the last 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 games, he has scored a total of 11 games. He has scored 7 touchdowns. Pretty good rate. And the fact that they take on Washington, whose secondary is as bad as it gets, I mean, I feel like it's just an automatic play in this scenario. On top of it, Kendall Fuller, one of their starting cornerbacks, is not going to play again this week. And it just makes it that much easier for them. He's dealing with a knee injury. He's on the injured reserve. Done. Good to go. So I'd probably lean towards playing Brandon Cooks. And then it would be Darius Slayton second. Then probably DeMarcus Robinson third. Then Puka Nacua fourth. But if you want to play Darius Slayton, I don't have a problem with it. I think that the matchup against Philadelphia is just as advantageous. It's just a matter of, can we trust Tyrod Taylor in comparison to the potential of Dak Prescott? Thanks for the question. Let's see here. After free username, we had... Actually, free username had another question. Said, and then Raiders or Jacksonville Jaguars defense? Raiders versus Denver or Jacksonville versus Tennessee? I'd probably play Jacksonville's defense against Ryan Tannehill. Travis says, would you move A.J. Brown up your rankings any further with Devontae Smith confirmed out? Yes, I would. Yeah. But let's see here. If we go to the Philly injury report, Devontae Smith did not practice all week. He's out. Darius Slay's out. So, yeah, at this point, Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown are both going to move up in my rankings. So, at this, I mean, that's the thing, though. A.J. Brown was already at a position in my rankings to where he's an automatic start anyway, because he's, I typically always rank him in like the top 8. So it's not a matter of like him moving up any more is going to make a huge difference. It's just like he's now, between him and Goddard, the only receiving targets that we could potentially trust going into the given week, which is obviously great for those of us who have him on roster. Brett says, can't wait till next year, Andrew. Won my chip last week. Great work that you do. Hope you have a great offseason. Thank you very much, Brett. Congratulations on the win. Mike says, Andrew, is Jordan Love / Jaden Reed stack better than Kyler Murray, Trey McBride stack? Yes, I do believe so. I have both opportunities. Thanks, man. Yeah, I would play the Jordan Love Reed stack because, as we've seen, Jaden Reed is just a touchdown magnet. Like, I mean, when I was just talking about Brandon Cooks and his frequency of touchdowns, just looking at Jaden Reed as of late. He has scored a touchdown. Let's see here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He scored 7 touchdowns in the last 7 games that he's played. And obviously one of those he left early due to an injury. Like, the guy's on a little bit of a streak. And obviously we want to take advantage of it. So yes, I would play the Jordan Love, Jaden Reed combo there, Mike. Brian says Gibbs or Zamir White in a PPR. In a PPR, I'd probably play Jahmyr Gibbs in that scenario instead of Zamir White. Troy says, I just need the Panthers to beat the Bucs so that the Saints can make the playoffs. They only lost by 3 last time they played. Also, I started school and working, so I took a break from fantasy this year. That's what I thought, Troy. I was like, long time no see. I had not seen your name in quite a while. But you want the Saints to make the playoffs, huh? Besides the fact that you need perhaps, Carolina to win, you also need the Saints to win, which, last time out against the Falcons, I don't know if they fared too well against them. Am I wrong? Let's see here. What was the last time that I think last time they faced Atlanta had like a pick 6. And it was all she wrote. Let's see here. Yeah, Atlanta won 24-15. I think that's your biggest concern. The Saints have got to lock it in and pull it together here. Let's see here. Brett says, what are your favorite keepers for next year? Who do you have available? Favorite keepers? Obviously, in a keeper league, I think it depends on what you have available. But besides that, you always want to try to keep players. Well, it depends how your keeper function actually works. Like, if you're keeping them outright and they don't actually impact your draft status and your picks, then fine, it's completely different. But if you're in a league in which, like, every year, like, let's say, for example, I drafted, I don't know, Chris Olave 2 years ago, not this season, but last season when he was a rookie. Let's say I drafted him in the 9th round, right? And then every year they subsequently move up 3 rounds, right? So, like, this year I kept him as a 6th. Next year I'll have to keep him as a 3rd. Like, if there's like a round compensation because of it, then it changes it also on top of that. Maurice McDonald says, hey, Andrew, what's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Bill says, considering Mostert is at 5:20 p.m. game, okay, and questionable, and Green Bay's wide receivers are questionable, pick my standard league flex, Mostert, Elijah Mitchell, Brandon Ayuk, Bo Melton, or Juwan Johnson. So considering both Waddle and Raheem Mostert were limited in terms of their participation in practice today, which is obviously a great sign in comparison to where they were Thursday and Wednesday, in which they did not participate at all. It is a trending sign to where they could potentially end up playing. But as of right now, I don't think Bo Melton is someone that we want to start this week, especially considering Jaden Reed is likely to play. On top of it, Christian Watson could end up returning this week as well. So let's see here. Do I want to play Ayuk in just the first half or maybe just the first quarter? Potentially. I don't mind the idea considering the secondary of the Rams aren't great. If I was to pick one player out of this whole group, Bill, that I trust the most in a standard scoring function, considering the whole situation of when the Buffalo Bills play the Miami Dolphins, I just play Elijah Mitchell in this circumstance. Thank you for your question, Bill. Let's see here. Lloyd10 says, what do you think about Love? I think he's been playing pretty well as of late. Been one of the better fantasy quarterbacks. Obviously, because each of the last 2 weeks he scored a rushing touchdown. A.J. Dillon being out this week also gives him more potential, to do so and score another rushing touchdown. But he's been playing well. The team has something to play for, a playoff spot, and they're at home against the division rival, which, of course, their head coach has not lost to since he has become the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Everything's pretty much on their side for this week. Sam Morales says, start Sam Laporta or Tucker Kraft. Standard scoring. I'd play Sam Laporta there. He's off the injury report. They're expected to start their players and have them play the entire game. Trojan 3659 sends in a super chat. Says, unfortunately, I'm playing in the chip in week 18. Can we trust Laporta or just play Juwan Johnson? Okay, so first and foremost, from everything that I've seen, I'm under the assumption that I'm willing to take the word of Dan Campbell and just roll with the idea that they're going to play their starters. Now, if in fact they pull Laporta at halftime because they're up 30, sure, that could always take place. That could take place in any game, right? But I would assume that it'll probably be a game in which, let's think about this. If they don't have, I mean, Laporta is their number 2 receiving option. And I understand it is tough to throw the ball against Minnesota, but they can't run the ball the whole game. And it probably won't look like last time. I mean, last time out, they had 3 rushing touchdowns amongst their 2 running backs. And Jared Goff only had 1 passing touchdown. So, yeah, I would feel pretty comfortable rolling with Laporta there. If you want to play Juwan Johnson, I don't blame you because of the speculation of the Detroit Lions potentially holding out their players. But I would assume that if he's going to suit up, he'll be out there for majority of the game, considering they're trying to potentially steal the number 2 seed in case the Cowboys do falter this week. And then you have a follow-up question here. It says, start 2, Bijan, ETN, CEH, Jordan Mason, pick 1. Sorry. The first question is start 2. Between those 4 running backs, give me Bijan and give me ETN. As for your following question, pick 1 wide receiver 2. It would be Slayton, DeMarcus Robinson and Christian Watson. I would play Slayton out of that group. Thank you for your question, Trojan. Carr or Tyrod Taylor? As it currently stands on screen, I have Tyrod Taylor at 11. I have Carr at 13. That's the way that I would go about it. I'd play Tyrod. Dustin Poole says, would Melvin Gordon, the third, I was about to say, I was like, what is that? Melvin Gordon the third be a good play in the flex spot this week's? Can only pick players from 4 teams. Yeah, I don't mind him because the assumption is that the starting running back this week will probably end up being Justice Hill. But as the game progresses, considering Justice Hill, well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, they just signed Dalvin Cook, right, to the practice squad. So they could potentially activate Dalvin Cook in a future week to be the RB2. But yeah, I think Melvin Gordon's probably going to get himself a pretty good volume of work this week. As to whether it comes to fruition or whether he's able to be effective is to be determined. But I think he'll certainly be in my, if I had to guess, considering everyone who's out this week, he'll probably be in my top 40 running back rankings. I could see that. Let's see here. Donovan Daniel says Minshew, Pittman stack or Trevor Lawrence, Ridley / Ingram stack. Also, would you pick up the Saints defense or Bears defense? All right, so to answer the first question, if Trevor Lawrence is playing this weekend, I'd honestly prefer to take his stack against Tennessee with Ridley and Evan Ingram. On the other end of this overall question of Saints and the Bears defense, I probably end up, oh man, do I take that Saints defense or I'd probably take the Saints defense as it currently stands. Between the two. I don't love them both. I don't love either of them, but I'll take the Saints. King says, hi, Andrew. Thanks for all the hard work this season. In a full PPR Week 18 championship, Flex 1, Reed, Zeke, Zamir White, or Achane. I would play Achane if, in fact, Mostert is inactive for this weekend's game. If Mostert is not there, I'd take Achane. I might even take Achane even if Mostert is there because Mostert may be limited in his role. And may be the RB2, which is very likely, to be honest. But considering it's a full PPR, and if in fact Mostert is active, I would feel very comfortable just pivoting to Jaden Reed there. Maurice McDonald says, Andrew, who out of the tight end Juwan Johnson or Trey McBride and wide receiver start 3 Tyreek Hill, Julio, Jacoby, Olave, Darius Slayton? Help me, please. 4 point out of first place. Okay. So between those 2 tight ends, I'd prefer to play, especially, what kind of scoring format is this? I don't know what your scoring format is, Maurice, but I'd prefer to play Trey McBride in a half PPR, full PPR. If it's a standard league, I could 100% understand playing Juwan Johnson. As for your wide receivers, of course, you know that you have to play Tyreek Hill, Olave, and Darius Slayton. Those have been the hottest of the 3 as of late and have been the most consistent. So we'll take those 3 options. Chris Foy sends in a question, says, I'm up by 23 points in my finals, full PPR. You setting up to win it, question mark? Full PPR, who you setting up to win it? All right, who do we have here? We have Dak, we have Rashad White, we have James Conner, already looking good. Olave, fantastic. Brandon Cooks, I like to stack there. Trey McBride, great. Tony Pollard, great. Dallas defense, perfect. We have Jake Elliott at kicker. We're benching currently Diggs, Nakua, Henry, Schultz, and White. Okay, let me think about this. So would I play Diggs over either of those receivers. I would very much so consider playing Diggs over Brandon Cooks, but I'm perfectly fine benching him in this circumstance based on his recent, play. So Diggs is fine on the bench. Naku is fine on the bench. Derrick Henry's fine on the bench. Schultz, I wouldn't play him either over McBride. And Zamir White is not better than Connor or Rashad White or Pollard. Yeah, you're good to go there, Chris. I wouldn't change anything. Good looking team for this week. And you have the 23-point advantage. Dustin Poole says, would you play Harris or Warren? Maybe one as running back, one as flex instead of Melvin Gordon? Yes, absolutely. I would play him 1,000% both over Melvin Gordon. I was going to say, if you think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win, then you should play Najee Harris, and that should always be the approach. And considering the Baltimore Ravens are not going to be starting their team, Najee Harris, over the course of this season, let me go find the splits. The splits are actually pretty ridiculous in games in which they win, in which they lose. Najee Harris only scores touchdowns when they win games. If I go to splits and then I go to 2023 and I go to wins and losses. So this season, in the games in which they have won, he's averaging a whole yard per carry higher, and he has scored a total of 7 touchdowns in comparison to games in which they've lost, in which he scored literally 0 touchdowns. So pretty big significant difference there. And considering we're assuming that, of course, we'll find the Baltimore Ravens most likely with Tyler Huntley losing this game, Najee Harris is the play. But yes, I would also play Jaylen Warren over Melvin Gordon in the flex there, Dustin. Herman Vasquez says, Jamal Williams or Charbonnet, standard league flex. I would only ever play Charbonnet if Kenneth Walker was going to miss. Considering Kenneth Walker, let's look at the injury report. Pretty sure he was good to go this week. Let's see here. Kenneth Walker, full practice earlier today. Yep. So in that circumstance, I would like to, potentially pivot towards Jamal Williams. Even if Kamara plays, I'd probably still play Jamal Williams there because I think Kamara will be limited in some sort of capacity. Let's see here. Bill says, thank you, Angie. You rock, brother. No problem. Rock on, brother. Howard Mighty says, Mitchell, Mixon, Gibbs, Zamir White, pick 2. If I'm picking 2 of those 4, I will take Zamir White and Gibbs. Trojan 3659 says, thanks, Andrew. I'm also playing Amon-Ra. Yeah, you're good to go there then. That's no problem at all. Well, I mean, yeah, we don't want to technically double stack, but I think if we're believing that Amon-Ra, Gibbs, Montgomery, Goff, they're all going at a full capacity in order to try to get the number 2 seed, or at least have a higher seed than the Eagles just in case they face them at one point in this overall playoffs, then yeah, you're good to fire up both those Lions. Mike in the chat says, Andrew, I have Waddle in my starters, okay, but he's questionable. He plays the last game on Sunday night. Should I just roll with Darius Slayton to be safe, or hope Waddle plays and does well? No, I would just play Darius Slayton. The reason why I'm confident saying that is because, as we have seen over the course of this entire season, Jalen Waddle hasn't been the healthiest wide receiver. There have been multiple instances over the course of this year, unfortunately, not his fault, it's just, the nature of the game, that he has unfortunately gotten injured in the game and he has left, or he has re-aggravated an injury and left the game. So because of that, I'm not 100% willing to stake my season on the idea of just hoping that he plays by the time we get to Sunday night, and on top of it, hoping that he can stay healthy, be productive, and efficient for the entire game with that injury that, of course, has forced him to miss last week and a lot of practices this week. So I'd probably just play Darius Slayton there just to be safe. Kizay says, Barkley, Zamir White, A-Chan, Montgomery, and CEH. Pick 3 PPR. I'm really considering CEH since his projections are highest of the bunch and Pacheco is not playing. A lot of I think all of the receivers are not playing. I know that Rashee Rice is inactive. I know that Mahomes is inactive. That entire offense is just not going to be, suiting up, except probably their offensive line with Blaine Gabbert there in order to make sure that he can stay alive. But as it currently stands, if it's me in a full PPR, I'd probably want to play Achane for sure. Alongside of Achane, I'd probably go with Barkley. Those are the 2 that I prefer as the 1-2 combo. As for number 3, I don't mind the idea of CEH, considering he'll literally be the only running back out there, vying for overall workload against the Chargers. But I think it'd just be safer to play Zamir White in that circumstance if it's me, or even Montgomery. if I could get, well, if I can guarantee that CEH is getting himself like 4 or 5 catches, sure, I could pivot in that direction, but I just don't know if that's a guarantee per se. So for right now, I probably just end up going with like Barkley, Achane, and Zamir White, considering Jacobs is out. Maurice McDonald says, thanks, Andrew. I'm about to win a lot. No problem. Glad I can help in any way. Howard Mighty says, Addison, Demarcus Robinson, what do we have? Wandell Robinson, Dortch, and Slayton, pick 2. If I'm picking 2 of this entire group, it's probably Slayton with Dortch. I think that's especially if it's in a full PPR, I think that's the safest. If it's like a standard scoring league, I would then just go Slayton with Addison. Mike says, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that, my man. Thank you. Let's see here. Do you have running back rankings for this week? Yeah, I do. So if you're on the channel as it's, we currently stand. If you're able to open up another tab, and instead of going to videos, if you go to live, we have earlier this week I live streamed and I had running back rankings, top 36. There are going to be updates made to that because like on Tuesday, I didn't know whether or not Kyron Williams was going to play. They hadn't announced it until Wednesday. So Kyron Williams is technically still number 1 there, but I think the whole structure of my rankings still is pretty much intact on that live stream. So go to the channel, go to the live tab. Instead of going to videos, go to live. And then it has the James Conner on the thumbnail. Agent Angelo sent in a question. Thank you very much, Agent. Appreciate it. It says, in a full PPR, pick 2, Kamara/Herbert with Roschon Johnson if out. Okay. Mason, Zamir White, Najee Harris. If I get him from waivers. Okay. So if you're able to... This is the way that I'm kind of approaching the situation, Agent. I think the best play of the bunch is probably going Zamir White with Herbert, assuming Herbert is healthy. If Herbert is out, I would then just go Zamir White with Najee Harris if you can get him. I might just take Zamir White with Najee Harris to begin with, just in case Herbert, if Herbert's dealing with an injury and perhaps they don't have Deontay Foreman as a healthy scratch, maybe it's a 3-man rotation, it becomes even more of a difficult situation to start him. I think maybe the safest play is just go Zamir and Najee in this circumstance. As for at tight end, Kraft or Juwan Johnson, my assumption is that Luke Musgrave plays this week, considering he's been limited to practice for 2 consecutive weeks coming off of the lacerated kidney injury reserve stint that he had. He's healthy, he's ready to go. So I would assume that Juwan Johnson should be the better play of the 2 as it stands. Travis sent in a question. Travis says, Gibbs, K9, JT, pick 2 in a full PPR. I think Kenneth Walker should be the highest ranked of the bunch, especially considering he fully practiced earlier today. After him in a full PPR, considering how well... let's think about this for a second. I feel like Jonathan Taylor has to be started. Yeah, I would probably go Jonathan Taylor there. I go Jonathan Taylor, and I would pair him up with... Yeah, I'd pair him up with Kenneth Walker there. Thank you, Travis. Steve says, how do you handle DSTs this week with many of them having non-mattering games? How do I deal with defenses? Well, here's the thing, right? You want to go ahead and play defenses against, like for example, the Cleveland Browns are starting Jeff Driscoll at quarterback. They're not going to have any of their, potential weapons. So the Cincinnati Bengals defense, assuming they're still going to play for pride, and of course they are, because a lot of players have, contract incentives, and on top of it, a lot of players may not be on the Cincinnati Bengals come next year, and they're trying to get as much film out there of them playing well so that another team can sign them, and then they can maybe collect the bag in the offseason. So even with teams not having non-mattering games, it matters to these players. It matters to these coaches. Everybody's, resumes are on the line. So they're going to go out there and they're going to play well. So you obviously want to just continue to try to find matchups for defenses in which they're taking on backup quarterbacks. So if we're talking about potentially firing up the Chargers defense up against that Kansas City offense as Blaine Gabbert, I wouldn't mind it. I think Blaine Gabbert is an interception machine. I think that's not a bad play. I don't mind the idea of playing Cincinnati Bengals defense against Jeff Driscoll because, again, he will literally have, I guess Cedric Wilson will be his number 1 receiver out there. It's going to be pretty rough in that scenario. Let's see here. Bill says flex, CEH, or Elijah Mitchell in a standard. I'd rather play Mitchell there. Steve says Eckler, Mason, Ty Chandler or Zamir White, pick two. If I'm picking two of the four, it's probably Zamir White and Eckler. As for Too Greedy, says, won my chip last week. Thanks. No problem. Glad I can help. Congratulations on the win. All right, so what I wanted to go ahead and do really quickly is I wanted to go ahead and head on over to Underdog because I know Yusuf was asking earlier about any sort of picks that we could potentially play going into this week. So let's go ahead and I'm going to travel over to the live cap behind me. All right, so as it currently stands, I'm sweating here a little bit. As it currently stands, when I was talking about it yesterday, my favorite play of the week so far is just Josh Allen anytime rushing touchdown. We talked about it yesterday, and I'll go ahead and I'll mention the stat once again because it really is almost the guarantee at this point. He has scored a rushing touchdown in quite literally 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. He has scored a rushing touchdown in 12 of the last 14 games he has played. And in those total games, in the last 14 games, he has totaled, if I'm not mistaken, how many rushing touchdowns has he totaled? 15 in the last 14 games. And he's scored a touchdown in 12 of the 14. So there's a lot of games in which he scored 2 touchdowns. Most recently, back-to-back games in which he has scored, literally, he has scored 2 touchdowns in 3 of the last 5 games he's played. But the last 2 games, New England and Los Angeles Chargers, he has back-to-back games of 2 rushing touchdowns. So I think the idea of him being able to at least get 1 this week against Miami, it's a pretty fair assumption in this circumstance. Let's see here. Is there any other questions? We had Sam Ross who said in the chat, standard, my quarterback is Allen. Wide receivers are Evans and A.J. Brown. Okay, so you're good to go already. Running backs are Harris along with Walker. Tight end is Goddard. Fantastic. My flex is Aaron Jones. Fantastic. Saints defense. McLaughlin, thoughts? I think you're good to go there. I would potentially consider an alternate defense. Let me go look at the matchups this week really quickly. I planned on doing kicker and defensive stuff later tonight, tomorrow morning-ish, so that I have the most up-to-date weather kind of circumstances. But if I was looking for other alternative defenses, besides the Cowboys, Jets, Patriots that we mentioned we like earlier this week, I really do like that Bengals matchup. I really do like the idea of also starting potentially, let's think about this. I like the Chargers as well as another streaming option ahead of the Saints. So those are the 2 that I like. I also like Jacksonville, like we talked about earlier. Somebody mentioned it against Tannehill because Tannehill's not the greatest quarterback in the world. But that's what I was kind of leaning towards. I kind of want to play that Chargers, Cincinnati, one of those 2 potentially in the given week. All right, so let's continue on. Let's see, what other plays have popped up over the course of this week that potentially look like they could end up being clean here. I might just go with like anytime touchdown plays. Like, I don't know, like somebody yesterday was saying that Tyrod Taylor's going to score a touchdown guaranteed. I don't know how much of a guarantee that is. I like the idea of Rachaad White scoring a touchdown against Carolina, mainly because Carolina can't stop the run for their life, or just, as a defense as a whole, they haven't been playing so well. But what is this? 0? Okay, that's nothing there. Let's see here. What numbers pop out to me? I'd like to get a target count here. If Justin Jefferson pops up as a target count and it's like 9.5 or 8.5, at that point, I'd be willing to jump on it. I don't know about yardage just yet. They're still very skeptical on that game. Still don't have a rushing yard. Yeah, look, this is what sketches me out. I'm waiting for the rushing yard total. I was waiting for this 2 days ago. I'm waiting for the rushing yard total to come out for him. What else is there? Let's see. Let's scroll down here. Let's take a quick gander as to what we have available to us. Is there a Breece Hall anytime touchdown? I feel like what about Zeke? Does Zeke have an anytime touchdown? He doesn't. I'm waiting for Breece Hall to get some numbers. If Breece Hall gets any rushing totals or reception total, like his reception total should be ridiculously high. Like, I feel like that's probably that's probably something that I'd be willing to go after. I wanted to see if they'd have a CeeDee Lamb anytime touchdown, but obviously that has not come to fruition. Let's see here. What do we have available that could be nice? All right. There are a couple of things here that I like. What is your number at? 17.05 fantasy points. I'll probably take that higher. Is Jaden Reed on this list? 46. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually just make something where it's just all touchdowns. So if I go up here and I go like TD, all right, here we go. Now let's just cook something up here, shall we? Najee Harris doesn't have one. That's depressing because I feel like he would actually score this week, assuming they're going to win. I actually like this idea. I actually also, yesterday I liked the idea of Montgomery, but I don't want to stack that on top of it. Who's another player? I feel like Breece Hall's just been too good as of late. And then if I was to close this out, there's no Kenneth Walker. Of course there's no Kenneth Walker. Of course. I probably just take James Conner. That's probably where I'm going. 31.25x. What is that? If I put 10, it makes $10 into 312. Okay. I'd like to make a actually, you know what? Yeah, caveat. Okay, caveat. This is probably not going to hit, but it looks good. It looks, maybe Rachaad White isn't the guy. Maybe he isn't. We have a Zamir White here. Nope. Okay. Yeah, we'll leave it at, oh man, Gabe Davis, a nice 2x. Okay, we're going to leave it at this. I'm going to just send this one in. We'll see how that goes. And did it break? Oh, no. Okay, no, it didn't break. All right, we're good to go. All right, let me see. Let me travel back to the chat. See what else people have to say. I'm going to go ahead and travel back to the rankings just so if anybody have any questions regarding rankings, we can take care of that. We had a question that came in from Eli who said, Joe Mixon or Ezekiel Elliott for the last round, first place. Breece Hall is locked in for my championship, RB1. As of right now, Breece Hall, Breece Hall has to play. So it's Zeke or Mixon. I currently have Ezekiel Elliott ranked higher. I think he's probably the better play of the two. If he had an anytime touchdown on that underdog play, I would have taken it in comparison to Mixon. Emily says, hi, Andrew. Thinking about my running back situation, if Kamara is out, do you think I should play Jamal Williams in Khalil Herbert's place and keep Chuba Hubbard in the flex? Or should I keep Khalil Herbert and put Jamal in Chuba's place? Also have Brian Robinson Jr. full PPR. Okay, so in the scenario, right? If in fact Khalil Herbert, so I think Khalil Herbert is 100% contingent on whether or not Deontay Foreman is active. If Deontay Foreman is active, we don't want to play Khalil Herbert tomorrow. If in fact, or not tomorrow, this weekend. If in fact Deontay Foreman is inactive, he is a healthy scratch, and Khalil Herbert is clearing away the RB1 once again, I would play him alongside of Jamal Williams, assuming again Kamara is out. But again, if Deontay Foreman is active and ready to go, I would probably play Jamal alongside of Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard last time out against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he did have himself a really great game, but just to put it into perspective, both of the interior inside linebackers, Levante David and Devin White, were both inactive in that game. So two of your starting interior, inside linebackers being out, the run game is not going to exist. So in comparison to that, I would assume it'll be a little bit more difficult this week for Chuba Hubbard. That's why I'm trying to play those other two options. But if in fact, again, Foreman is active, then we would pivot to Chuba Hubbard there for Khalil. We had a question that came in from Xavier Stafford, who says, Kyler, Tua, or Browning? Of the available options as it stands, I'd like to play Kyler. I think Tua, considering there is a questionable nature to Waddle and Raheem Mostert, and they play on Sunday Night Football, it's probably just safer to roll with Kyler Murray against a Seahawks defense that has struggled mightily as of late against anybody. So Kyler's probably the play, and obviously it took him a little bit of time last week to gain some momentum, but in that second half, the offense looked great. He was finally starting to get the ball in the direction of his receivers. Greg George played well. Michael Wilson scored a touchdown, and everything kind of came together in the second half there. And obviously their offensive line, stood. Actually, let me cancel these ads that YouTube are trying to put in. And obviously their offensive line played pretty well, in terms of stopping that pass rush. So I'm not too worried about what Seattle has in store. So for right now, yeah, I'd play Kyler. Thank you for the question, Xavier. Okay, what other plays are there? Are there any target plays? Targets? No, there's no targets as of yet. Any reception plays? I mean, interesting. So I'm looking at this. Let me travel back over to my screen capture. So in regards to total receptions, the fact that George Pickens is at 3.5 is pretty ridiculous. I feel, at least. Like, there's no way that after the last 2 weeks of what George Pickens has done, that Mason Rudolph isn't throwing him the ball and letting him have 4 grabs. I mean, I feel like that's got to be impossible. It has to be, right? I think Nico Collins, in a win to get into the playoffs game, is going to be able to surpass 5.5 receptions. I feel like it just has to be. I think it's the same case for both Godwin and Evans, to be honest. What has Godwin's receptions been out? Because I know last week he was underneath that radar, but let me see here. If I go look it up, Chris Godwin, I probably just end up playing Evans here just to be safe. But Godwin's receptions the last 4 games, 5, 10, 6, and 3. So only just this last week did he end up kind of going the opposite direction. What has Evans been at as of late? Evans 3, 7, 4, 1, 7. Yeah, that's a little rough. He's been in a little bit of a downtrot. I'd probably just end up going with, yeah. If it's me, I'd probably just take the Chris Godwin play here. What's another player that has a decent amount of receptions? Olave with 5.5 just seems like a freebie. Like, he didn't play well last week. That's a given, but he hasn't been that bad all season long to where he's not going to be targeted a high amount of times. Like, let's see here. Over the course of the season, what is his number at? It's at 5.5. So the week prior, he had 9, which was a season high. Then at 4. Okay, 4, but he left early with an injury. 5, 7, 6, 6, 5, 7, 7. I'll take 5.5. That's fine by me. I'm okay getting hooked by that. That's not a problem. And then we're looking around. I think this is probably going to go higher because there's no 8. He only had 1 reception each of the last 2 games. He has to get 3. It's a little rough. Let's see. Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to push anything crazy. I think that works. Zamir. No, there's no Zamir. Sorry. Okay, let's take that. Boom. Bang, bop. Cool. All right, moving back. Sorry about that. Just wanted to go ahead, put together a couple plays here. After Emily said, thank you, no problem, Emily. Glad to help. APF JJ says Huntley versus Minshew versus Tyrod. Need points to come back. I'm down 8. I don't like the idea of playing Huntley without all the receiving threats to his disposal. So I'd probably end up playing Tyrod Taylor 1, Minshew 2, Huntley 3 in that circumstance. They're APF. Obed said, need help. Full PPR. I need 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. I have Lamb, Puka, Deontay Johnson, Jordan Addison. What is this? Devon Achane, Gibbs, Brian Robinson, Chandler, and DeMarcus Robinson. Okay, cool. So, of the available options you have, Lamb has to play a wide receiver. You know that. I think Achane has to be that RB1. Gibbs is that RB2. As for your wide receiver 2 alongside of Lamb, I probably end up playing DeMarcus Robinson there, honestly. And then your flex for this week, I probably end up going Brian Robinson Jr. That's kind of the direction I'm leaning towards. Xavier Stafford said, sorry, one more question. David Montgomery or Elijah Mitchell? That's a really good question. I wonder how good the Rams are without Aaron Donald and Ernest Jones out there. Are they going to be that much of a liability to where Elijah Mitchell outscores him that significantly? Elijah Mitchell's a good back, man. When Elijah Mitchell gets touches, the dude is a monster. Like, over the course of his career, like any games in which he's been given 10 or more total rushing attempts, the dude's averaging like 15 fantasy points per game. Now that he's fully healthy and we have a designation of that, do I play him or Montgomery? I probably play Montgomery because I want to be safe. but I could justify playing Elijah Mitchell. They're probably going to be right next to each other in terms of tomorrow's and Sunday's rankings, but I'd probably just play Montgomery out of safety. If you want to take the spicy roll, then you can roll with Elijah Mitchell there. Let's see here. Burrow Walt says, full PPR, I need 3. So bench 1. Montgomery, Zeke, Chase, and Pickens. If I'm benching 1, I'm honestly benching Chase. Thanks for all the hard work. You were a champ for powering through when you were sick. Dude, I'm still sick. Yesterday I had a cough attack. And for some reason, I mean, how long have I been sick for, man? I think I've been sick since, let's see here. It wasn't last week, was it? No, it was last week. No, it wasn't last week. Honestly, I don't remember. I think I've been sick since the 19th, or at least have had symptoms since the 19th. Pretty crazy, but yes, I appreciate it. Glad I was able to help in any way, even though I was dying on stream those couple days. Let's see here. Wilson says, hey, Andrew, leagues are over, but just wanted to say thanks for all the work this year. Greetings and salutations into 2024. Thank you very much, Wilson. Appreciate it. Can't Get Right said, have you heard anything about Mostert looking to play Achane this weekend? The only thing that I know is that Mostert was limited in terms of his participation of practice earlier today. So it is trending in a better direction than where it was, earlier in the week. But that being said, you got to remember, if you go back to last week's injury report for that offense, he was also limited on Friday, and they still shut him down for Sunday. So it doesn't mean anything. He could very easily not play this week, which would make HN even better. But I think, as it currently stands, if I was going to rank them, I'd rather play HN over Mostert, even if Mostert plays, because I do believe that he's going to be limited to some sort of capacity going into this week. B Fatty says, Andrew, hey, my man, love the channel today. Is my wife and wait, what does it say? Okay, dude. All right, that's a funny one. That is a funny one. That's a good one. Xavier says, much appreciated. No problem, man. Travis says, thanks for all the hard work this year, Andrew. I've got a league that rewards defensive linemen for sacks. Could you think of any QBs you target this week that are likely to take a bunch of sacks? Yeah. So the two most... All right. Let's see here. If I'm not mistaken, the most sacked quarterback this season is the Washington quarterback, Sam Howell. And then after him... Okay, so as it currently stands, right? The New York Giants have allowed the most sacks this season. The Jets are the second highest in terms of sacks allowed. The Titans are third highest in terms of sacks. Wait, is this season, 2023? Where's Washington? Where the heck did Washington go? My Commanders are... They've actually cleaned up as of late. The Giants, you guys remember that game earlier this season against Seattle, which they gave up 12 sacks. I think it's kind of a little bit different. I wouldn't fire up anybody against Tyrod Taylor, especially considering the Eagles' pass rush has been awful as of late. But the Jets have given up a good amount of sacks, but I don't like any of their pass rushers because the New England pass rush is pretty much injured. Titans have given up a bunch of sacks this year, which again, Tannehill's probably going to get squished. So I would say maybe Josh Allen of the Jacksonville Jaguars, maybe putting together a couple sacks in that matchup. The Panthers have given up a lot of sacks, so if you can find whoever their premier pass rusher is there for Tampa Bay. The Commanders have given up a bunch of sacks, so I'd look to potentially fire up anybody, maybe DeMarcus Lawrence. And actually, no, if I'm going to fire up somebody in terms of defensive end or defensive line, it would be Micah Parsons, right? So Parsons, Josh Allen will probably be the two that I'm looking at, thinking those guys would be the highest likelihood of getting sacks this weekend. Donovan Daniel says, I have Waddle in my flex. Should I start Slayton, Goddard, or Njoku? I don't think Njoku's playing because nobody's playing in that starting offense. So of the remaining options, you have Slayton or Goddard. Considering the fact that... considering the fact that we're in a situation in which Devontae Smith is already out, I think I actually play Goddard there. Yeah, I'd probably play Goddard there. Ibrahim says, you carried me to a second ring last week, Andrew. Appreciate you, bro. Congratulations, Ibrahim. Glad I can help. APF says, can't say thank you enough, brother. Been watching for 3 years, and you've won and have won at least one league each year for you because of you. Happy 2024, brother. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys. All right. No, I'm done with the thank yous. I'm done. I appreciate it. Much love, guys. I'm glad I can help. You don't have to thank me. I'm here because I want to help, right? So I know the whole deal. I greatly appreciate it. All the kind words really do go a long way. So thank you. That being said, now with that all covered, I'm probably going to end the stream. If you have any other questions, I'll be here for probably 5-6 more minutes tops. Then I'm going to close out today's stream because, yeah, then I'm going to probably close out today's stream and we'll be good to go. I'll be back tomorrow starting at noon Pacific Standard Time. Tomorrow is going to be different because instead of the rankings looking like this, it's going to be like Sunday morning where all the rankings are top 36 running backs, top 36 wide receivers, top 16 quarterbacks, tight ends, top 12 kickers and defenses. So I'll have everything ready for tomorrow. And then Sunday will be the same thing. It'll just exclude anybody that's on a Saturday. Good to go. Perfect. Awesome. Appreciate it. So tomorrow, noon. Sunday morning, 8 a.m. If you have any questions by the time we get to then, be sure to swing on by. Thank you. I see that nobody has any more questions. Brian French throws up the pieces. I am probably on the same page as well. I'm going to throw up the peace sign. I'll probably say later. I'm going to queue up probably the my double helix music just so that we're kind of sort of... I don't think I want to play the whole outro. I'll probably get to just the juicy parts. Let's get like halfway there. Get it ready to go. Again, I do appreciate y'all. Maurice McDonald, with probably the last question of the day, says, choose a defense, Bengals, Chicago, or Patriots. I would take the Patriots. I would probably go Patriots 1, Bengals 2, Chicago 3 in that order. That's the way that I would approach it for this week. Thank you, Maurice. Glad I could help. All right. That's going to cover it, guys. Much love. Greatly appreciate y'all. I'll be back tomorrow to hopefully help you guys capture a 2023 fan. Technically, it's 2024, but this is a 2023 season. Hopefully capture a championship nonetheless. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. Until tomorrow. That's not what I wanted to do. I'll see you guys. Peace. What are the chances? What are the actual chances that as I'm about to leave, we get a super chat? Prajwal, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. I'm here to answer your question. I'm not going to go ahead and turn on the camera again because I already unplugged it, but I'm here. Can you hear me? I'm here. I'm going to answer right now. Okay. Prajwal, PPR. Have a 56-point lead. Okay, then, I mean, you're pretty much in a really good spot. But facing Allen, Waddle, Mostert, Lockett, Swift, Komet. I mean, you're in an even better spot because Waddle and Mostert may not play. But anyway, continued. I have Tyrod, Hall, Connor, Montgomery, McBride, Chase, Metcalf, Zamir, Slayton, Juwan, Mitchell on my bench. Should I switch anyone? Okay, so you have Tyrod playing quarterback. Hall and Connor are the two best running backs for sure. The best wide receivers in this circumstance are probably Chase and Metcalf. Good to go. Boom, boom. And then, so Tyrod, Hall, Connor, Chase, Metcalf. As for tight end, you have Juwan Johnson. You're good to go there. As for your flex, if it's between like a Montgomery, Mitchell, Zamir White, I probably end up playing Zamir White in that circumstance. Yeah, I probably end up playing Zamir White in the full PPR. And then you're good to go. Is it a 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, Pajwal, or is it are there any other, like, is there an additional flex? Are there 3 wide receivers? Let me know. Just type it in the chat because I'll be here to answer your question, and then once we've answered that, we'll be good to go. Probably on like a 15-second delay, so I'll just chill. Oh, it's a full PPR. Yeah, but there's not. Yeah, okay, so we're just going to assume that it's. Okay, Chris Bull comes in to steal some thunder. Says, I am new, and I love your help and passion. Would you start Kyler Murray, Geno Smith, Tyrod Taylor, or Baker Mayfield? Of those options, Chris, I would play Kyler Murray number 1. Tyrod 2. No. Kyler Murray 1, Geno 2, Tyrod 3, Mayfield 4. So Kyler would be the suggested play. I also have McBride. Where's McBride? Oh, you do have McBride. Okay, so in that circumstance, if it's, where are we getting all these questions in from? I was about to leave. Okay, I guess we'll just, all right. So, in this circumstance, Prajwal, Tyrod at quarterback, Hall and Connor at running back, McBride at tight end, Chase and Metcalf at wide receiver, Zamir White in the flex. That's the way that I would go about it. Thank you. Chris Bull, I'm playing Kyler Murray there. That's the way that I would go about it. Can't Get Right said, would you take, who would you take in a full PPR? James White, Jonathan Taylor, or Achane? I would take Achane over the bunch. Prajwal says 1 flex, 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 1 tight end, 1 defense, 1 kicker. Okay, you're good to go there then. You're good to go. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Okay. Glad I was able to help. Thank you all. I don't want to end the stream because I don't know if the delay is going to kill it. So I'm going to wait, I'm going to rewind the outro music just so that you guys hear all my responses. Thanks, man. Have a good night, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully, maybe not. We'll see either way. Have a good one. Peace.